For years now, Donald Trump has insisted his favorite book is the Bible. But for years now, he has also been seemingly unable or at least unwilling to recall any of its specifics.
The whole Bible is an incredible. I joke very much so. They always hold up The Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time. But I just think the Bible is just something very special.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal. So I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Is there a favorite Bible verse or Bible story that has informed your thinking or your character through life, sir?
Well, I think many. I mean, you know, when we get into the Bible, I think many, so many.
An Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal.
You might think that an aide would slip him a sheet of paper with something like, I don't know, John 3:16 on it, so Trump could at least pretend to know something about the Bible. But no. And that reality is part of what makes Trump's latest grift so amazing.
All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. We must protect content that is pro-God. We love God, and we have to protect anything that is pro-God. We have to bring Christianity back into our lives and back into what will be again a great nation. I'm proud to endorse and encourage you to get this Bible. We must make America pray again. I think you all should get a copy of God Bless the USA Bible now and help spread our Christian values with others.
Now, Donald Trump hawking Bibles while actually never having opened one himself is ironic, but it is also not out of character. I mean, this is the man who's selling basketball shoes right now, and I'm not even sure his three-pointer exists. The reason Trump is Bible peddling and the reason it is interesting isn't because of the hypocrisy. The reason Trump and his Bible sales are interesting is because of the fine print here. This is the frequently asked questions page for this new Trump Bible. If you were wondering, this is the only Bible endorsed by Donald Trump, which may be alarming news. I don't know. But the thing that actually matters here is the very last question on this list. Is any of the money from this Bible going to the Donald J. Trump campaign for president? The answer is no. Despite the fact that Trump's ad for this Bible really feels like a political ad to make America pray again, etc. Despite that, money from the sale of these Bibles does not go to any political cause. It goes to a politician. It goes to Donald Trump. According to the New York Times, Trump gets royalties from Bible purchases, which is part of a licensing deal through a shell company. So the money is split between this Bible company and Donald Trump. At the end of the day, this is really just Trump getting his supporters to enrich him personally. And the reason I point this out isn't because I care particularly about Donald Trump making money off a bunch of Bibles. It's because this little shell game here is very much part of a pattern, and we are seeing it repeat itself in a big way that could impact the 2024 election. You probably remember that back in 2020, after losing the race, Trump launched what he called his official election defense fund. Between Election Day and January 6th, the Trump campaign sent millions of fundraising emails to supporters, sometimes as many as 25 emails a day. The fundraising pitch was that the Democrats want to steal the election and that this fund needed your money to fight back. Trump managed to raise $250 million with that sales pitch, but there was just one small problem with Trump's official election defense fund. It didn't exist.
I don't believe there is actually a fund called the Election Defense Fund.
Now, Trump really did raise $250 million, but only a small fraction actually went towards anything resembling fighting back or challenging the 2020 election. If you read the fine print while donating to Trump's official election defense fund, you would learn that before a single penny is given to Trump's efforts to fight the election results, the first $5,000 donated by any donor is split between the RNC and Trump's Save America PAC. In other words, if you sent in $200, None of that would go towards the Trump Defense Fund. Now, today, the New York Times is out with a very useful piece showing where all that money did go. And it turns out that all of that $254 million windfall Trump got from claiming the election was stolen, it turns out Trump funneled that money through a series of different accounts like his Save America PAC. The money was part of a little shell game that ultimately paid Donald Trump's personal legal expenses. He used it to fill the $90,000 a day hole in his pocket from the legal bills he has been incurring in his various civil and criminal cases. The other big showstopper in this piece today is that big pot of money, it is nearly gone. And now with those coffers nearly run dry, Trump is looking for another cash cow. Next month, Trump is set to hold a big-ticket fundraising dinner with the RNC in Palm Beach, Florida. And the fine print on the invites to that dinner, well, that fine print is telling. This is the first major fundraiser since Trump got his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, installed as the co-chair of the RNC. And Laura Trump has since very publicly made clear that the RNC will not be paying any of Trump's personal legal bills. But again, look at the fine print. At this fundraiser next month, the invitation shows that the first $6,600 donated go straight to Trump's campaign. And the next $5,000 donated after that go to Trump's Save America PAC, the entity that has been paying his legal bills. So in order to actually get money to the RNC at this RNC fundraiser, you first have to clear $11,600 in Trump's own piggy banks. So, okay, the RNC isn't paying Trump's legal fees, but it is not as simple as that. It is a shell game. Christy, how is this legal? How can he keep saying this one thing and doing another?
Well, I think the big question here will be looking behind all of this as to who's coordinating it. If Donald Trump is coordinating between his campaign and these PACs that are supposed to be third parties and independent, the Save America PAC is an independent, even though he directs it, independent third party, if there's sufficient coordination and you could prove that, then maybe you would have something to say. These expenditures are not purely personal. These are really campaign contributions, and therefore they should be subject to the limits of $5,000 that campaign contributions are subject to. So, again, it seems to me, like you said, they're just trying to do an end run around these various regulations, and it seems so transparent. The question is, will anybody look into this? Will the FEC look into this? Will any prosecutors look into this? It's unclear.
Today, a federal appeals court ruled that a hugely controversial Texas law known as SB 4 must remain blocked while legal challenges against it continue. If it is allowed to go into effect, SB 4 would criminalize immigration in America's largest border state by giving Texas police the power to arrest and jail migrants suspected of entering the U.S. illegally. And it marks an unprecedented power grab at the state level. At the federal level, Donald Trump is also promising that if reelected, he too will use local police to arrest migrants as part of his massive deportation plan.
As president, I will carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. If they don't go back to their countries, we will never get back our country.
Migrants who are escaping violence and poverty and political uncertainty often cannot go back home. So what these types of policies do is force migrants to wait in parts of Mexico near the U.S. border, hoping to one day sort out their immigration status. And they are in parts of Mexico where dangerous cartels are systematically exploiting migrants with devastating consequences. This is a special report from our MSNBC contributor, Paola Ramos, and I want to warn you that some parts of the story are difficult and disturbing to hear.
So we just crossed from Brownsville, Texas, over to Matamoros. Right now, we're in the state of Tamaulipas, which is considered one of the most dangerous places in Mexico, more than anything because of the cartel violence that's taking place here. Now, every single person that we've talked to on the ground is telling us that the rate of sexual violence against migrants is escalating. It's increasing. It's getting worse by the day. So we're on our way to a refugee shelter to understand the impact that it's having on the migrants that are crossing from these border towns into the United States. Maria, her husband, and their 2 children say they had to leave Guatemala last year after receiving death threats from the same gang that had already killed nearly half of her family.
No traíamos zapatos, no traíamos ropa, nada.
They traveled north, hoping to be near the U.S. border as they waited for their official immigration appointments, a crucial part of seeking asylum. They had no idea the worst part of their journey would take place just feet away from Texas.
Ya puestos aquí en Tamaulipas, en Reynosa, se sube un grupo. Se cruzó una camioneta blanca y subieron vestidos de negro.
¿Quiénes?
Y empezaron a decir, somos los del Golfo.
¿El cartel del Golfo?
Sí.
¿Estaban armados?
Sí, con pistolas en mano. Y mi marido me quedaba viendo y me dice, nos van a matar.
Porque usted en esos momentos, su marido pensaba que ahí...
Nos iban a quitar la vida. Y empezaron a quitarlo la ropa. Me desvistieron toda delante de él y me empezaron a golpear. Porque yo les decía que no traía dinero. Y ellos me decían, pásame el teléfono, vamos a contactar a tu familia para que pague tu rescate. No tengo quien pague rescate. Entonces me vas a decir, nos vas a pagar con cuerpo. Empezaron a violarme más de 20 personas. Y me decían que esto te pasa por no pagar. Y para que recuerdes que el territorio mexicano se respeta. Yo les decía, ya no puedo más, déjenme por favor.
¿Usted tiene marcas del ataque que sufrió y de las violaciones?
Sí, tengo en mi cabeza, en mi rostro, en mis pies, en mis manos. Me abrieron aquí también. Querían meter drogas para que yo pasara. Yo les dije que no.
Many of the migrants in the shelter have endured similar situations. ¿Cuánto tiempo estuviste secuestrada?
Como casi un mes.
¿Un mes?
Sí, porque no tengo dinero, entonces me abusó de mí.
En ese mes que estuviste secuestrada, ¿te violaron muchas veces?
Como 4 veces.
¿Había más mujeres contigo?
Sí, había 3 mujeres conmigo.
¿Y las 4 estuvieron abusadas también?
Sí.
What's happening to these women might not be a coincidence. Cartels have developed a systematic, organized method to kidnap and collect ransom from migrants on their way to their immigration appointments.
Ahorita se están subiendo muchos a los autobuses y preguntando si vienen a las citas. Algunas personas dicen que sí y las bajan, les checan sus maletas, les quitan todo su dinero, les pegan para poderles también mandarle ese video a sus familiares para que vean que es verdad que están secuestrados.
Doctors Without Borders has seen this crisis up close. From October to December of 2023, they recorded a 70% increase in consultations for sexual violence in Matamoros and Reynosa compared to the prior 3 months. In the first 2 months of 2024, they have already seen nearly 70 cases. I just got back from talking to 3 asylum seekers, and at least 2 of them have been sexually assaulted. Is that what you guys are seeing on the ground too?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, when we have the consultations, our patients also tell us their stories, which are quite traumatizing.
The violence is creating a new crisis for many migrants: unwanted pregnancies. Do you offer pregnancy tests?
It is part of the protocol that we follow. It's actually the first medical treatment.
And does Doctors Without Borders also offer access to abortions or abortion pills? Is that something that's part of the work that you do?
We are actually very concerned all over the world, wherever we operate. We are very concerned about the unwanted pregnancies. We try to ensure that services are being offered to the women, and also to ensure that we ourselves adhere to the laws and norms of the country.
What many migrants don't know is that once they cross that border, a line that represents security, dreams, and opportunities, they're walking into the realities of post-Roe America. ¿Conoces sobre las leyes de aborto en Estados Unidos en estos momentos, en Texas?
No.
Joining me now is Paula Ramos, MSNBC contributor and host of MSNBC Field Report. Paula, it's so great seeing you. you're bringing back stories that are not being told and need to be told as we have this raging debate about immigration and don't actually talk about the people involved here. What did you see on the border in terms of the sexual violence? The story that we played earlier was harrowing.
Terrible.
And I wonder if you could talk sort of broadly about the picture you saw when you were there.
Yeah, so when you think about the women that we just saw, I think of this image, right? These are women that are sort of stuck in between two walls. On the Mexican side of the border, they're faced with this incredibly vicious sexual violence. And then when they look the other way, when they look at the American side of the border, they're faced with post-war America. And so the product of that is that suddenly you're seeing this growing group of migrant women that are stepping into post-war America with rape-related unwanted pregnancies.
God.
And the reason why, and that's what we found in our reporting, is because there is this very alarming spike of sexual violence against migrant women. That's something that Doctors Without Borders told us, lawyers are telling us that, activists told us, the migrants themselves. And the difference now is that, you know, cartel violence has always been a norm.
Yeah.
If you go to the border, that's the norm. The difference now is that the cartels are very explicitly weaponizing sexual violence as yet another form of extortion, torture to get what they want.
Can you talk a little bit about how the cartels functionally operate?
It's very simple, right? And some people won't want to hear this. The longer migrants wait on the Mexican side of the border, the more the cartels profit. Unfortunately, cartel violence is very deeply intertwined with the U.S. failed immigration policy and failed asylum-seeking process. And so this is what happens, right? The cartels have leveraged the very long waiting times that immigrants are faced with on the Mexican side of the border because of policies like Trump's Title 42, Remain in Mexico, and now Biden's CBP-1 application, which essentially pushes migrants right now to wait on the Mexican side of the border as they're waiting for their immigration appointments. And so as migrants wait, and as they adapt to the different U.S. policy changes, so too do the cartels. Through that time, they have developed simply more sophisticated and organized methods of violence. They know the routes, they know the buses, they know when the immigration appointments are. And so it used to be that migrants could just pay with cash when you were held hostage, but now you have to pay with your body.
Right, because you don't have the cash.
Because you don't have the cash. And that violence is not just more vicious, it's not just more terrifying, but now the problem is that we are feeling the ramifications of that violence. Now we are the ones that are faced with these migrant women that are carrying those pregnancies. So what do we do?
And have nothing, and they come to a state like Texas where their options are nil.
Are nil, exactly.
Effectively, what you're telling me is that immigration policy so broken is forcing these extraordinarily long waiting times. There's no diminished appetite for, there's no appetite for decreasing those wait times, by the way, on either side of the aisle here in the U.S. And migrants are effectively preyed upon by these cartels. Are they, I mean, is there any protection for them? Is there any sort of recourse for them as they effectively lie waiting to be preyed upon by dangerous cartels?
No, anyone that walks, and precisely I think that's something that President Biden should have done when he visited the border, right? You can say everything you want, we can talk about policy, but go to the other side and you will see this. And so I think it's very important to understand that, you know, no matter how conservative you are at the border, no matter how hard you want to, you know, make it for these migrants to come to the U.S., that only benefits the cartels. Migrants will continue to come. You know, the type of desperation we just saw on our screens, that is not deterred by walls and policies and policy debates. It's not. People will continue to migrate north. And so what do you do?
The desperation is so acute, and it is driving people to do things that are debasing their own, that force them to debase their own humanity. And we are not looking at this. We're not talking about this at all. Your reporting is really so essential. I'm so grateful for everything you do to shine a light on this, Paula. Really, really important stuff. Thanks for making the time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.